Revelation 714. From the 17th of December 1938. Primordial Power. From the primordial power, all currents go into the universe. Every radiation, no matter how small, has an invigorating and awakening effect, and if the expression of power of all things and creations is the original state, and therefore nothing can be imagined which is not produced by the primordial power, then also every work of creation must be God's power in itself, and this in the measure in which its nature expresses the omnipotence and wisdom of God in the total creation. The more purposeful provisions are intended for this work of creation, the more comprehensibly this power will become apparent to man, and so naturally the divine power must also be inherent in man as the creature of God to whom the noblest provision is intended, for he is a bundle of rays awakened and enlivened by the elemental power, which divine will and love produced and sent out into the universe, which condensed itself in form and is always and forever a particle of this elemental power. The diversity of the created beings will always allow the assumption that also the fullness of power is distributed differently and is also expressed differently. And this assumption is correct, because every being is always so far able to let its power work, as it corresponds to the activity determined to the being. Every being is active out of itself. It is a creature standing completely isolated in the universe, to which a certain task is incumbent, and it fulfills this task by virtue of the power working in it, which again is nothing else than the direct radiation of the divine primordial power. Whoever takes a closer look at the miracles of creation, recognizes the Spirit of God, the eternally unchanging and eternally never-ending power everywhere. Everything that lives, is permeated by this power, and everything that is dead, lacks it, which is even more understandable that just all life is power in itself, and the lack of this power for a thing, means death. And as soon as this power becomes active, all life develops. The power is divine and is therefore imperishable and eternally the same. Even if it also animates a being through millennia, it will always have its starting point in God, the eternal primordial power, and will also desire to return, because the energy producer receives the radiations back into the universe undiminished, and the cycle is always and eternally the same. And so every created being is sent out into the universe in well-considered intention. It should become aware of its power, which is out of God, and therefore lets the being recognize as the same product, as the same power in the tiniest part, as there is the divine power as primordial power of all existence. Amen.